Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us tonight on episode 33, season 4 of the Standoff with Brad and Richie here on New Zealand Sport Radio. We're here live every Wednesday for the rest of the season, which is almost at an end, Richie. I'll bring you in evening. We're down to 2 teams after some fairly one-sided prelims, and our Warriors are now done for the year. How are you, and how was your weekend?
I'm well, thanks, Brad. I hope you're well. The weekend was as good as it could be, given the result of our match. Obviously, losing the prelims, it stings a lot, but at the same time, very proud of our achievements after where we've come from the past few years. And after this show, I'm going to jump on Sky Sport and hopefully get a consolation prize of a Sean Johnson Dally M.
Thankfully, it's very late, the Dally M, so there's no chance of us missing out unless it's 11 o'clock. I don't know if we can go.
I think it's 10:30, isn't it?
Mate.
I thought it was 10:30.
10:30 is when they do the red carpet.
Oh, man, that's so late.
If you want to, it's very late. But while we're here live on Wednesday evenings, 8 p.m., we'll catch our show at your convenience on iHeartRadio, Spotify, all those places. Just remember to search for New Zealand Sport Radio. As always, we're going to cover everything you need to know in the week that was rugby league, including our top stories of the week, a review of the NRL prelim and the semi-finals of the NRLW, and an update on our tips. We'll then stop and answer some questions from you guys, as well as some questions we've prepared for each other. We'll then preview the grand final and make our final pick for the year before ending the night with a recap of the Super League. So remember to send us comments and questions throughout the show, and we'll do our best to answer them. And we may as well jump straight into the top stories, Richie.
Sure.
There's not too much because the Dally M's is tonight, so I thought we'll probably talk about that a bit. But we talked about the Las Vegas launch. That's all everyone's talking about at the moment. But the NRL is apparently thinking about offering salary cap compensation to clubs that sign players from the USA in a bid to grow the game over there. What's your thoughts on potentially trying to steal a few Yankee doodles and getting a bit of a rebate on them?
Seems strange. It's not like the US is crawling with seasoned rugby league players or up and coming rugby league players. I don't think the rugby league scene is exactly booming there. So yeah, I'm not too sure how many NRL level players you're going to find there unless you.
I'm sure you might get 1 or 2 out of a batch, which is probably why the salary cap compensation comes into play. So teams are actually more willing to risk it. But I don't know how much you know about the college system over there, but for American football, it's only a small percent that end up going to NFL. So you have a lot of athletes that kind of have nowhere to go. And you have places like professional wrestling and that over there that look at that catchment pool of guys that have nowhere to go and try to bring them into theirs. So I think that's really where the NRL can kind of try that pool of guys that have been told you're not NFL quality. You could go and pretend to fight, or you can go to Canada and play Canadian football, or you can try this sport. We'll have to wait and see, I guess. It's really hard to tell. Paul, you might have some thoughts.
I was thinking one of the things that they say in uni is actually quite a lot, sometimes the basketball players are the guys that transfer better than the sort of American football players, because the American football players are only sort of playing like 15-second stints. So their fitness is entirely different compared to sort of the continuous game or continuous sort of sports we have outside of the USA. So, but and the flip side of it would be to say that every team has to take one American that's out, and it's outside the salary cap, and just to kind of a bit like they have the NRL has an overseas, so the NFL has an overseas allowance of players as well for teams to try and sort of globalize their sport. So you could flip it around and say you have to take an American. They don't have to play, but they just have to train with your squad and see if you really want to do it. That's how you go about it. not saying, "Oh, you can have one. It's outside the salary cap." Make everyone have one.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I'm certain there's coaches out there, like your Bellamy's. I'd even put Webby in there. They're these types of guys that seem to be able to grab a player and get the best out of them. So there might be a few coaches in there that can shine up an American turd and turn it into something pretty. But yeah, we're just going to have to wait and see. They've got to see how successful it is. Anyway, the Vegas trip, I think Paul asked us on overs on how many players get put in jail during Vegas weekend. How many do you reckon, Richie?
Oh, I don't know.
We've got a few teams that have got a few contenders going over for the first one. So
we do, yeah. It's going to be dangerous.
Yeah. So I think that's the biggest concern. But speaking of those naughty boys, Valentine Holmes, we talked about his.
We know jumping in rivers and trying to swim across it to avoid the police.
Valentine Holmes, we talked about his prank gone wrong a few weeks ago. He's now officially been given a punishment. So he's been fined $25,000 and has a 1-game suspension. The way the system works, as we know, he's likely going to get to use that 1-game suspension in the Kangaroos game and will be available for week 1 of next season. I think there was talks that the Cowboys were going to fine him $75,000 for it as well, but wipe away $50K of it, so you'd only pay like another $25. I don't know how it works, but you think it's a fair punishment?
Yeah, well, it's an expensive bag of fake cocaine, isn't it? But yeah,
$25K. Alleged.
Come on,
don't
Brad.
Get us in trouble.
Yeah, $25K. I know these guys make a good amount of money, but it's a good slap on the wrist. And the 1 game, take it or leave it. Like you say, he's going to miss a rep game and still be available for round 1. So, yeah, if the Cowboys front up and give him some more, then that'll be good. You know, it's not nice seeing these stupid mistakes these players make.
Yeah.
Need a deterrent.
Yeah, I think I've always said the best way to try to get your message across with players is usually hitting them in the pocket.
Yeah.
Rather than giving them a holiday from games. So, I'm fine with it. I wouldn't want to have to pay $25,000 for anything I say stupidly or do stupidly on this show, that's for sure. So, thankfully, Paul's not as strict. But, well done. Hopefully he's learned his lesson and we won't see any more social media gaffes from him in the future. Moving on, we talked last week about Alex Twal being told he's potentially not wanted anymore at the Tigers. Gus Gould has confirmed that Cameron Ciraldo has been in contact with Alex Twal and they're currently firm favourites to sign him. But despite that, there's actually rumours that the Tigers and the Sea Eagles are working on a player swap between Twal and Sean Kepi. They are the 2 props that were both welcome to go elsewhere. So what do you think? Do you think it's more likely he'll go to the Doggies or that this player swap might happen and we'll see Kepi as a Tiger and Twal as a Sea Eagle?
The Doggies could use a workhorse kind of player like Twal. Just going off what I've seen them dish out the past couple of years, a straight swap for Kepi with Manly would be, I don't know, for me it's almost a little bit like for like, sort of grafters, strong defensively. I don't know who you'd say would win out of that swap. Yeah,
I would personally rather see one of those 2 come to the Warriors, to be fair. But I think, Twal, I think for Twal personally, I think going to the Dogs would be the better option out of the 2 that sounds like they're going.
Yeah.
I would probably rather go to the Dogs with all those players they got and they're trying to build something than go to Manly and, stuck as the guy having to try to lead the way for Luke Brooks again. I don't know. But yeah, I'm sure we're going to hear probably a bit more. I think it's going to take a bit of a rest until November. November 1st, when all the conversation stuff can start. I think that's when we're going to start seeing a bit more from that. So we'll probably keep quiet until that date. But before we leave the Doggies, they're also apparently set to sign Jason Taylor as an assistant coach. What's your thoughts on Jason Taylor potentially going to help Seraldo out at the Doggies?
Yeah, couldn't hurt. Again, another good footy brain cracking player, has experience coaching. And like we say, they need a bit more help. Seraldo is obviously has a lot of raps on him as a coach, but a bit more help couldn't hurt. Experienced
needs
help.
Some experience, yeah.
Yeah.
I know we've been praising Webby a lot, and rightly so. But I think he's got guys like Richard Agar and that who have got a lot of experience to be leaned on when needed. So I think, a guy like Taylor, who, like him or not, with how he's gone up and down in his coaching career himself, he's got so much experience to be able to just be a learning tree for what can do and what he shouldn't do as well, which I think are very vital. So, well done. If Taylor gets that job, I'm sure he'll do his best to help Cammy out. Nathan Peets is my next bit of news, mate. He's officially announced his retirement from rugby league. He had a great career. No disrespect to him. I didn't know he was still playing.
Same.
But well done for hanging up the boots. It felt like he played almost everywhere in the NRL, and I know he was over in Super League too. But great career, and who knows what's going to be on the cards for him in his future if he's going to try to stick around league in a coaching capacity. But any thoughts on Pete's?
He might even have a future in broadcasting, a la Fletch and Heidi kind of thing. I know he's a well-known pest in Larrikin and very funny. If anyone who follows him on Twitter, not even called Twitter anymore, but all the social media platforms, he's a funny man. But wish him all the best, whatever his next endeavor will be. Yeah.
And Michael Innes, speaking of pests, he signed on as the assistant coach for the Seagulls to replace Shane Flanagan, who's obviously gone to ruin his career at the Dragons. What's your take on Innes taking up that role?
Yeah, again, another. I'm going to rehash something I just said a couple of stories ago. The Dragons need all the help they can get, and Innes is obviously he's a pundit on a lot of league shows, and he has a lot of knowledge. But premiership winning player as well, and having somebody like that helping Shane Flanagan, who's already a good.
He's replacing him. He's not helping him.
Replacing him?
He's replacing him as an assistant at Manly.
Oh, well,
I sent you these notes.
Shows I don't listen. Mate. Shows I don't listen.
Yeah.
At Manly?
You don't read either. Yeah, he's going to Manly, yes.
Well, mate, that's even more fitting then, because Seabold
needs help.
he's lost at the best of times. As lost as I am right now. But yeah. So good luck to him. Yeah. Good luck to the Seagulls. That maybe you can get your second team back.
Maybe. But see, apologies, or when the Warriors get eliminated, Richard clocks off mentally. So we'll do our best. But Greg Alexander will continue on. He stood down from his New South Wales Blues advisor role. There was a lot of talk about Matt King potentially coming in to assist Fittler, and Gus Gould as well being brought in. I think it was yesterday, Fittler gave his proposal to New South Wales about his plea to keep the job. What do you think about a potential trio of Fittler, King, and Gould?
No, I don't know. Like you say, I clock off after the Warriors lose. I I don't know, mate. That team's dead to me. They should be winning. They lose series they shouldn't lose. Yeah, bring on the Kiwis. Who cares about them?
You're our New South Wales ambassador. I think Alexander, he kind of shot himself in the foot during, the year with some of his interviews when they were asking him questions about selections, and he kind of seemed like he didn't know what he was talking about, which doesn't help when it looks like you got a coach that doesn't know what he's doing either.
He didn't. So, it's like he'd lost interest, right?
Yeah. So
that's the way I kind of view it as well.
Any changes need to happen. There doesn't seem to be a lot of interest for the head coach role, so I'm assuming Fittler's going to get it still.
Well, that's the one thing that'll pick. That's the one thing I think they need. I think Fittler's done his dash there. The trouble is there's no one to replace him. But I don't see New South Wales coming out of where they are with him still at the helm, because you get the same old weird selections, same old tired game plans that Queensland just seem to be able to match.
Yeah, I see him still having the coaching role, but if they lose next year's series, that's 3 in a row. I think they'll be looking, begging anyone else to take it. So we'll just have to wait and see. Good luck, Fittler, with his slideshow that he did, and hopefully he gets a chance to redeem himself. Next bit of news, we had some international footy in the weekend, mate. I don't know if you managed to watch it, but the Australian Prime Minister's 13 went to Papua New Guinea and faced them and won 30-18. It was quite an entertaining match. I think Papua New Guinea had a lot more fight than many expected. Crazy crowd, as you always expect in Papua New Guinea. And yeah, thought it was a good game. It was a pretty decent Australian team, due to, despite the fact that there was so many of their key players still playing finals. Did you see the game?
No, I didn't catch all of it. I caught enough of it to get a feeling of the crowd, and yeah, they're so fanatical over there, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think PNG did well to hang in as well as they did and keep it close. I'm pretty sure, didn't they have this corresponding fixture last year? And Aussie won by quite a lot more.
They did,
if I remember correctly. Can't remember the score, but yeah, it's, I don't know. What do you think that means for? Is it good? Is it seeing scenes like that? Do you think it gives fuel to PNG NRL, an NRL team coming out of PNG?
I think so. I know I saw a lot on social media from the big guys up in the decision maker roles, kind of praising the reception and the crowds and saying, like, this is why we need an NRL team here. But there was also the social media posts of the security guards. Did you see that?
Yeah.
The security guards at the fans that did get on the field getting beaten with sticks. We might need to start looking at that at New Zealand venues to help out.
Maybe
but, I think, the drums are beating hard for them at the moment, so they could be definitely in line for that extra team. I'm still waiting to see what happens in terms of, you could have that Papua New Guinea team, but are you going to get Australians that move to Papua New Guinea if they want to base it there, or is it going to just be based in Australia like they said and then take games over? We're just going to have to wait and see what the powers that be decide in the end. But it was a great turnout, as it always is over there. But we may as well get into the elephant in the room, mate. There was a little forward pass that's kind of been the talk of the town. And after the howler of letting it go, Peter V'landys has come out and confirmed that there is going to be a discussion in the off season about the possibility of the bunker being able to review said incidents like that. What's your thoughts on it? We may as well. I don't know how much we're going to talk about in the review, so we may as well talk about it here. The pass that everyone on the world saw, bar the 3 people that needed to see it. And do you think there could be something in play, like it hurt me watching it, and then it hurt watching the replay when the little try confirmed comes up in the bottom.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I understand the hesitation, because do you want them to be looking at every pass? But I think the 50-50 ones, I think you can get away with. Where I think there was one earlier in that game, Wade Egan threw, that looked flat for me as a biased fan, but you could say it was slightly forward. Those ones I could see the bunker not having a say in, but I feel like there's got to be somewhere where something as bad as that's so blatant, they can kind of step in and help out, because it's a finals game. It's, a semi-final to your biggest game of the year, and to have you want more eyes on the product. And if you see things like that just get let go, it kind of makes you look a bit less than the product you want. So what do you reckon? I feel like I can see the arguments on both sides, because I feel you don't want to go down the rabbit hole of checking everything. But and I see Rue's here, and Rue made a comment saying, remember the RTS flat pass got called forward back in 2019. Yeah, It still hurts against the Eels. Yeah, and there were talks back then when that one happened that they should be able to review it, and they still didn't. But yeah, what's your take on it, mate? I know we don't see a lot of them every year, so
I think ones that lead up to tries like that, the bunker step, or they don't even step in. They look in the background and confirm these tries every try. So you see one so blatantly obvious like that, they should have the green light to push the red button, no try. I understand ones that are 50-50, and I'd be cool with those getting let go. The ones that sort of, maybe they passed it backwards and it drifted slightly, and it could have gone either way, benefit of the doubt. But ones like that, why can't you just say no try? That doesn't sort of help.
No.
If that doesn't help if you're just in general play and there's a terrible forward pass that doesn't lead up to a try directly. But try scoring situations, I don't understand how in a finals game the bunker can be looking at that try anyway and can, like you say, confirm it. Why couldn't he just hit a red button for that? Because he's not allowed to. Just give them license to red light blatantly obvious ones like that.
It is the black hole as well, because even if the Warriors had managed to stop that try and then challenge, you can't challenge a forward pass either.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they're going to do. 9 times out of 10, you're not going to see something like that. You are going to be down to those 50-50s, but like Bruce said, common sense has to prevail. Yeah, I feel like in that circumstance there, that was one where the guys upstairs could have gone, come on, that was miles forward. Everyone saw it.
I guarantee you the bunker's sitting up there feeling like a muppet confirming that try.
And even worse, the guy that had to do that confirm was the guy that was sent there because he made a big mistake the week before. So he's sitting there going, oh, okay, we're going to have a buddy sharing this seat with me next week because he's not going to be allowed to ref the grand final, which was the case. He cost himself an opportunity to be the grand final ref with that mistake. But yeah, Paul.
Okay, it's easy to
forward
say.
passes are a touchy subject for us Kiwis, So
no, I get that, and it's in both codes. But this idea, well, the problem with common sense is that very few people have it, right? And what's common sense to one person isn't common sense to another. So you need a black and white. You need the more ambiguity you put in there, the more that you put on somebody's on someone's judgment, the worse the situation gets in the long run. So I think you need to keep it black and white as to you either call every forward pass or you call none from the bunker. Otherwise, you end up, as I say, the grey areas are not good for referees.
We'll just call none and just say for tackles 3 to 5, you can throw forward. We'll just invent a new game. It'll be fine. It'll make it interesting.
Yeah, a couple of new positions in the game too: wide receivers and tight ends.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm sure we'll probably discuss it when they actually come up with a plan next season, mate. So we'll put a pin in that, or at least till we talk about the game. Rabbitohs have won the New South Wales Cup final. They defeated the Bears 22-18. I didn't see a lot of the game because it's very hard to get New South Wales Cup games in this country, but it sounds like the Bears kind of had it in control and then dropped their bundle, which is unfortunate for them. But yeah, well done to the Rabbits. And the Knights. Bit of news coming out yesterday. The Knights apparently looking at shifting Daniel Saifiti and Jaden Brayley. The Dragons are already interested in Brayley, but no one's really put their hand up for Daniel Saifiti. Depending on the price, would you be interested in a Saifiti brother heading his way across the Tasman and wearing a Warriors jersey?
Yeah, certainly wouldn't say no. And I think anyone who would somehow nab Brayley, if they could get him injury-free, that would be a great one as well, because he's awesome when he's just had such terrible luck with injury. I was a bit surprised. I thought maybe they'd look at keeping him and having a Brayley Crossland duo. Obviously now they're happy with Crossland, but yeah, Saifiti would be great. I would snap that up, and he would add great depth to our pack. But even Brayley, that'd be a good pickup for somebody, as long as he gets better luck with the injuries.
Yeah, I think he's just a victim of circumstance. Like you see, he's had a horrible run with injuries, and Crossland has just taken this opportunity. And so they're looking, going, we're paying a lot of money for Brayley. We're paying a lot less for Crossland. If we can free up some cap space by letting a guy like Brayley go, we may as well take it. And yeah, Saifiti, depending on the price, I'd love to have him as the Warriors. I've been saying for a while that the Warriors are one big bopper short. He is that big bopper that could fit that mold. He's already best mates with Mitchie Barney, old Barnett, so he's got a mate here. But I wouldn't want to hear that the Warriors are paying like $1 million to have a Saifiti here. So if the price was right, I would take him in a heartbeat. But then I also said last week I would take Kepi or Twal in a heartbeat. So basically any prop that's going on the market, I want them. So we'll see. It would be nice. It'd be nice to have. But before we get into our signings of that, the big news obviously this week is the Dally M's. There tonight, the Warriors have 7 nominees this year, which I don't know if that's the record for the most, but it must be up there. So we've got wingers and centers and props all get 2 winners. And the Dally M medal goes to the top player overall, but they also take their position in the Dally M team. And on top of those awards, Dom Young, Matt Fagai, and Taruva are all up for Try of the Year. And Joseph Tapani, Ola Kawatu, and Ezra Mam are all up for the Tackle of the Year. As he kind of said, Rabbits went to see the Bears, so it's just your accent. Bears and Bears are the same thing, mate, But yeah, so besides Tackle of the Year and Try of the Year, we've got, I'll go through them, and we'll pick. Give me who you think's going to be. So first up, we've got Rookie of the Year. There's Jareen Buller, Will Warbrick, and Taruva. Personally, I would be going with Buller. But who would you be picking?
I probably have to go Taruva. Just the sheer number of games he's played and he's performed really well this year. They all have, but yeah.
Then the highly contested and argued about one, Coach of the Year. So there's Kevy Walters, Andrew Webster, and Ivan Cleary. I'm biased, but I'm going Webster.
Webster. Yes, yeah.
I know there was Gallen and Gould were having an argument on their TV show because Gallen was saying Webster shouldn't get it at all. It should be Cleary because the award's Coach of the Year, not Most Improved. But then he also said he'd give Dally M to Sean Johnson because he was he improved so much this year. So he was kind of contradicting his
Yeah.
his argument. But I can if Webby wasn't to get it, I'd be going with Cleary.
Yeah.
Due to the success he's had. His team's about to go into their 4th grand final in a row, potentially being the first team to win 3 in a row since the old days was Sterling at the Eels. But yeah, are you a Webster guy as well?
I am Webster just through sheer bias, but it's not just bias. There's a lot of good reasons why he would be a great candidate for Coach of the Year. I can also see the argument for Cleary, the success, losing Api Coruscant, Kikau, losing big players. Don't miss a beat. They still march on. So that sustained success. Obviously, you can see a massive argument for him, but bias wins for me. I'd give it to Webby.
Just to remind you, it's Coach of the Year. It's not Coach of the last 3 years. When you're talking about Cleary, who cares what he's done the last 2 years?
Yeah,
It's
but
what happened this
Cleary's
year.
never won it. Cleary's never won it though. And
Cleary,
I feel like
they've taken up minor premiership. So
yeah. And I saw Caden said either Kevy or Super Webby. I can't give it to Kevy because he's not the coach.
his players don't even rate him as a coach.
His players don't rate him, and his players say that Adam Reynolds is the coach. So it should really be Reynolds in that category. But speaking of Reynolds, he's actually up in the next one, which is Captain of the Year. So there's Adam Reynolds, Tohu Harris, Isaiah Yeo. I'm not sure with this one.
Yeah.
I like Tohu, and I think he's been a hell of a leader for us. But I would pick him. But looking at who I think they would pick, I think if Webster gets the Coach of the Year, I think they're going to give it to Isaiah Yeo to give the Panthers something for the reasons why they have gone so well. But I could also sit here and argue why Reynolds would get it. It's probably one of the harder ones to pick.
Yeah. My bias could say Tohu, but I think they'll probably. I could probably say Reynolds. Reynolds has been massive for them.
Yeah.
See where they've come from. The moment they sign him,
I don't know. How does it work though? Does the captain has to be in the team of the year, right?
Don't know.
I think that's how it works. Because if that
Good
works,
question.
it means Reynolds won't be in it because I think SJ is going to get half
Johnson.
that.
Yeah. If that's
so
the case, then Tohu. And
So do you think Tohu's going to be ahead of?
yeah, but only because of my bias.
Yeah, but see, Tohu and Isaiah Yeo are both in lock of the year. Spoilers for going up. So yeah, it could be either of them.
Well, it'll probably be Isaiah Yeo then, lock and captain of the year.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll talk about it with the actual winners next week and discuss our thoughts. But yeah, fullback of the year, we've got James Tedesco, Dylan Edwards, Kalen Ponga. I think it's going to be Ponga. I think Ponga locked up a lot of points towards the back end of the year. So I think Ponga is going to take that one.
I had Ponga locked in as well. Edwards, I feel like maybe not quite as high, obviously still very high level, but probably had a better year last year. Tedesco, I don't even know why he's there. I mean, people were calling for him to be dropped from Origin.
Well, I think that it still works on the Dally M points. So it's for each position, it's the ones that racked up the most points. So
it does, but
he gets a lot of points.
I suppose he does because he takes a lot of runs.
Yeah,
and he hogs the ball.
Yeah. Then winger of the year. So this is the first one where we get two. So there's Dallin Watene-Lesniak, Jermaine Osako, Brian Dotle, Dominic Young, Selwyn Cobo, and Ronaldo Mulitalo. I think it's going to be DWZ and Young. That's my two picks.
I don't even know why Mulitalo's there.
I didn't want to say that, but that was my thought.
The other five, any combo of that other five would work. But I'd say Dallin and Tor.
Yeah. That's a good point. So, yeah, and I could even argue for Ozako and they're getting a lot of points with the Dolphins.
Yeah, 100%.
That one is going to be highly contested. As long as Dallin's there, I think he needs to be there. But next one, centre. So, again, another two. We've got Stephen Crichton, Bradman Best, Katoni Staggs, Campbell Graham, Herbie Farmworth, and Isaac Targo. I think it's going to be
tough.
Crichton. I think I'm going with Crichton and Farmworth.
Same. I should have spoke up first. I'm not copying you, but I was going to say Crichton and Farnworth.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, yeah.
Campbell Graham started really well and then fell off later in the year.
Like all the Roosters.
Tony Staggs has been good.
Yeah. I think out of the two, if you're getting Dally in points, though, I think Farnworth might have been clocking up more points.
Absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be hard to see. 5-8 of the year. We're back to the three. There's Ezra Mam, Cameron Munster, Cody Walker. I think it might be Munster because I don't know how many points Mam would have been getting at the Broncos.
Dally points. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
a lot of points were going to Walsh and Haas.
Points. Yeah. So I think Mam's going to be losing out there because of that. And then halfback of the year, we've got Cleary, DCE, and Sean Johnson. I'm going with SJ. I've already said I think he's going to be Dally M. So I think, in all honesty, I think Dally M is going to be between him and Ponga. Ponga was further down the ranks, but with his rate, I think he was probably locking up 6 points most games towards the back end of the year and catching up. So, but yeah, SJ for halfback for me. Props, another tour. So we've got Lindsay Collins, Payne Haas, James Fisher-Harris, Nelson Asafa Solomona, Jake Travojevic, and Adam Fanua-Blake. I've gone with Haas and AFB.
Haas and AFB. Yep, absolutely. What is Nelson doing there?
I don't know. He should have been taken off for ruining Pappenhausen's return.
Yeah.
But then we got Hooker of the Year, Wade Egan, Api Coruscant, and Harry Grant. I'm actually going with Egan. I'm not biased here. I'm just saying Coruscant had that injury, had a few ups and downs with the Tigers, and I don't think Harry Grant had a great end of the year. And I think Egan was consistent, but he had a lot of time out with injuries too. But yeah, I'm going with Egan.
I want to say Egan as well, but I think Harry Grant will get it.
It's a safe prediction.
It is. I would give it to Egan, but I think Harry will get it.
Yeah. Second row of the year, we got Liam Martin, Brighton Nakora, Tyson Frizzell, Hamoli Olokwatu, David Fafita, and Hudson Young. I think it might be Liam Martin and Hudson Young, just thinking of who stocked up points.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I thought Liam Martin a lock for one of them. And it's half pick between the other five. So I'll throw a dart at the dartboard and say Fafita.
Yeah, and then we kind of already discussed it, but lock of the year. So there's Tohu Harris, Isaiah Yeo, and Patrick Carrigan. I've already said I think Yale's going to take captain, so that means I think he takes lock as well. So I think, I'm going with Yale as lock.
Yeah, me too. Although I think maybe if I were to rank the three for 2023, I think Carrigan's probably had a better year.
And I'm trying. Don't quote me on it. I don't know if the captain thing is, because I think didn't Roger get captain of the year and didn't get fullback? I'm not sure. I can't remember.
Yeah.
During the COVID times.
Well, if that's the case, then I'd probably give it to Carrigan. But
yeah, Carrigan's been great, but that's a hard pick. It is
not hard pick.
Any of those three could get it. Any of those three could get it, and I don't think you get a lot of people arguing. So, that's all the Dally M. So we'll cover that properly next week once we've actually got the winners. So that will be, I think, it finished. We'll know the Dally M by midnight tonight. But yeah, we'll cover it at depth next week since there's only one game to talk about. So we'll go to signings. There was just really re-signings. So the first one was Siegel KO Weeks. He's rumored to have toured the Raiders facilities and could sign with them very soon. But then Manly have also re-signed Jacob Arthur until the end of 2025. They've re-signed Ethan Bullimore until the end of 2025 as well. And Luke Thompson signed a 4-year deal apparently with Wigan. and Titans have extended Fotueka until the end of 2027. Any thoughts on all those signings, mate? I don't think there's anything that isn't surprising.
Yeah, nothing surprising. Big Moe Footweek is a good one. He's had a great year. Luke Thompson will be good for Wigan if he can stay fit. That's the key. All the others are, Arthur and Bollymores are decent retentions there. I think Arthur was actually pretty decent once he came over from Parramatta and got out of his dad's
shadow.
roster. Yeah, out of his dad's shadow. I think he actually looked all right there. So see how we go with those.
Injuries, none really. Luai and Targo got through their game with no issues. Herbie Farmworth had a bit of a scare at training, but it sounds like everything's okay with him. So no injuries there. And then naughty boy and girl corner, no suspensions. There was a couple of fines from the Storm, but that's it. So very good. We don't have to talk about it much. So we can go into the prelim finals, mate. First up on Friday, Panthers having a bit of a tough night against the Storm, only managing 38-4. If you want to give us the rundown.
Yeah,
it was
6 tries to 1. Brian Tuttle with a hat trick, Taruva with 1, Nathan Cleary and Dylan Edwards. Just the 1 try in the 10th minute for the Storm, Justin Olam.
Yeah, rinse and repeat what we've been saying about the Panthers all year, mate. They just played the usual pressuring style. They swarmed the Storm on defense and then just made the most of their opportunities with the ball in hand. They're just such a hard team to crack when they're in this kind of mood, and they're always in this kind of mood when it comes to finals footy. So they're in a very good spot, I believe, for a three-peat.
Agreed. Yeah. It's just such a typical Panthers performance. Rock solid on defense, deadly accurate with the ball, just grinding and chipping away at any hope the Storm had bit by bit. And before you know it, they wind up with 30-plus points on the board. You see it happen so often, but no one can stop it. So unlucky for the Storm. They suffer the same fate as us, but Panthers off to another big dance.
Yeah, and your thoughts on the Storm?
I feel like they've finally been put out of their misery after a very up and down season. They seem to be lacking any impactful middles other than Nelson. They got Big Nelson who can come on and wreak some havoc, but other than him, it's very very plain up the middle, and I think they're really missing some of the boys that moved off to the Dolphins. So Nelson's probably the only scary middle they have, and he seemed more interested in giving away penalties rather than making much of an impact. So might be an area they want to address going forward, if they can go to the market and plug that hole there. They've still got the classy spine, but they're just lacking in other areas compared to previous seasons.
Yeah, they just couldn't find a way through the Panthers' defensive line and made too many mistakes. It's not a great way for them to end their year, but we did, before the season started, we did kind of expect them to struggle a bit, as you said, with all the guys going to the Dolphins. The amount of experience they lost in that forward pack, they lost. But I think they'll be better next year. I think this was going to be that teething period of all those players leaving. I think they'll be looking at trying to redeem themselves after a very non-Storm-like finals campaign. Your player to stand out?
Going very cliche here. Cleary.
I expected nothing less from you.
He's just a finals. He's a master at NRL finals. Very easy pick, but I think a fitting one as well.
Yeah, I went with the right choice. I went with Brian Tuttle. A lot of talk before this game was about the height discrepancy, which always happens to that poor little midget on the sideline. Everyone's always talking about how he's going to get out-jumped. And, he got his hat trick. Doesn't matter how small he is, he always can find his way to the line. So I thought it was a great night for him.
He's a monster. The height never matters with him. He's just so powerful, and he produces at least an 8 or 9 out of 10 every week.
Yeah. And to the final game of the round, Broncos defeating the Warriors 42-12.
Oh, the painful one. Yeah, it was 7 tries to 3. Billy Walters grabbed a double. Herbie Farnworth grabbed a double. Jesse Arthurs scored against his old club from last year. Jordan Ricky and Ezra Mam. Only 3 tries for us, unfortunately. Dallin grabbing a double early on, and Marcelo Montoya grabbing our third in the 28th minute.
Yeah, outstanding attacking display from Brisbane. Their forwards won the battle well and truly, and they were offloading it well. I think they ended up with 24 offloads at the end of this. Add to that the quick play the balls, which was interesting because we're talking about, a lot of people talk about quick play the balls. In the stats, the Warriors had a faster play the ball by a split second, but it didn't look it. And they had the Warriors on the ropes early and often. Had to fight a bit of resistance at the start of the first half and then in the second half, but strolled away with it in the end. Their free-flowing attack style could be the key in stopping Penrith. We've talked a lot. Penrith don't like that, second phase football. And if the Broncos can do what they did to the Warriors with all those offloads, they actually have a shot. But what's your take on Brisbane?
I thought they made a shaky start, conceding the first try and making a couple of errors. Selwyn Cobbo tackling Chance when Chance was holding an invisible ball. But once they got rolling, the difference in power through the middle, second phase play and speed up the back was evident. In the end, it was too much for us to contain. Obviously, there was the massive forward pass, but the way I looked at it was, yes, it took the momentum and put it firmly in their grasp. But I asked Brad before we jumped on and went live, how did you feel every time the Broncos had the ball? And Brad's words were terrified. That's exactly how I felt as well. It had a almost like a feeling of inevitability about it, that they'd get over the top of us. So I think, end of the day, it hurts a lot, but the more dangerous team prevailed.
Yeah. I thought they started well, but yeah, as you said, I said that when Broncos had the ball, I was terrified. It always just looked like the Warriors were holding on. They had no answer for Reece Walsh's pace. Were dominated in the pack. They're well beaten by the better side. Say what you were about. Yeah, it did. The momentum did change. Jordan said that we won the halftime fan race for grand final tickets, so we won something. So that's good. But yeah, it was mixed emotions after the game. Sucked that they lost and they were gone. But what a year for the Warriors. It feels like the backhanded compliment that all the Aussies are giving us at the moment, going like, they got towed in that game, but like they were so good this year. Well done on the effort, which I don't generally like, but I'm looking with eyes to the future, going like that's a good starting point for Webster's first year. He had a taste of finals. Now they can reset and focus on 2024 and go that next step. So I think a lot of harsh lessons were learnt in the final series for the Warriors, and hopefully that we're talking about them this time next year as well, as opposed to them doing a Cowboys. And yeah, Callum said Brisbane were just too strong in attack. Yeah, it almost looked like they were going to score every time they touched the ball. But yeah, I'm hopeful for the future, which isn't something I normally get to say on this show about the Warriors. So your player.
Big Payne Haas. I thought their middles were amazing, and I've seen a lot of player ratings from the game from different social media, rugby league social media pages and pundits. I don't feel like a lot of those people were giving enough credit to their middles and how much damage they were doing through the middle and the offloads and the quick play of the balls. Which opened things up. I mean, too many people were giving Reece Walsh 9.5s. And I feel
In
like
fairness,
he's an
he
easy
set
person
up-
to.
he
He
set up a
a
lot
try
of
for us.
tries,
Yeah,
and he
did.
set up a try for us as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he was setting up tries everywhere for everybody.
Yeah, no doubting he was amazing, but yeah, I think a lot of credit has to be given. I mean, Brad, you're a fan of props. They set the game up their middles. I felt like.
Yeah, yeah, he was outstanding, but I couldn't pick him. I couldn't do it. I went with Herbie
Surprising.
Farmworth.
Yeah,
I think
Also very
Herbie was outstanding. So dangerous with the ball in hand. Gonna be very vital to the Dolphins next year when he goes. Crazy to think that he's playing so well after he signed that deal to leave. And he was basically, I think he said in an interview this week, he kind of left because the Broncos weren't really that confident in him being a regular first grader. So,
Who fills his spot next year for you?
I don't know. I
Jesse
honestly don't know.
Arthurs can step in.
Yeah, well, because Oates is still sticking around, isn't he?
I think so.
Yeah, so maybe Arthurs goes into center and Oates takes his spot on the wing.
It's a big hole, though. It's a big hole,
It is a
isn't
big
it?
hole. Yeah.
Mm.
And see, Bjorn said they smashed us in the middle, then took the foot off the gas around 50 minutes. Yeah, they took all the big names off.
They took gave him a rest, threw him in Cotton Wall.
Where I had a slight glimmer of hope. When I saw that, it was like, that's disrespectful, but I understand it. And it was like, this is where we just need the Warriors to start scoring tries and going, the big, slowing up before the finish line and getting outrun. But
I think that hurt. I think that hurt me more than the forward pass was seeing them start resting players with 20 to go.
Yeah, and I know there was a comment that we'll probably get in the questions, but Adam Pompey's goal kicking, he's been so good since he took over from Sean. He was missing like one a night, and then the worst night to miss them all. If he had got 2 or 3 of those at halftime, it would have been like only a deficit of like 4 points. But it is what it is. Should have, would have, could have, don't exist.
They weren't easy shots, to be fair. They're all from the sideline. One thing we were saying, my son and I were watching it, he keeps missing to the left. He's got to aim it a bit to the right every time, pulling it to the left.
But we know from next year, Sean should be back from that injury, so he'll be kicking his goal kicks again. So maybe that will help us out. But yeah, that was the round. We've got the teams 1 and 2 going into the final. So we'll go into our picks if Paul's got them ready. It's slowly. There we go. 2 stars this week.
Consecutive gold stars.
Consecutive gold stars. So Richie, you got 2 out of 2. So you have pretty much sealed this in the bag after round 1, but you got 7 out of 8 for the final series. I got 2 out of 2. I'm 6 out of 8 in second place. And then Simon, he didn't want Paul to get a multi this week, and he went for the big upsets to try and catch up. And unfortunately, it didn't work. I was hoping his would be right. But yeah, he's on 3 out of 8. So one more game to pick for us, but I think you've got it in the bag, mate. And before we go to questions, we'll just New South Wales NRLW semi-finals. Knights, as predicted, they defeated the Broncos 30-24, but the upset, breaking my heart, mate.
What's going on?
Sitting there after my Warriors lost, I was like, I'm going to watch my girl Millie get the Roosters into a grand final. So I've got one team to cheer for on finals day. And then the Titans, out of nowhere, shut the Roosters out 12-0. So Titans going to their first ever grand final of either code of men's or women's to face the Knights looking to go back-to-back. Did you watch any of these games? I was weeping watching the Roosters game.
Yeah, I didn't actually watch it, but the result shocked me. And I was pulling for Roosters like you, but not to be. Are you jumping on the Titans bandwagon now?
I am now. I have no issues with the Knights going back-to-back because I'm a big fan of Tamika Upton as well. But, Georgia Hale, those guys that were commenting saying it was disrespectful, I wasn't going for Georgia and going for the Roosters instead. Now that my girl's out, I'm happy to go for the Titans. I think it'll be massive for them to win it. But that one should be a great game anyway.
Yes.
So we'll go to questions. Do we have any questions from anyone, Paul, before we go into ours?
Hey, not really a question, more a comment really from Nicholas, but based on the available evidence so far, I don't think that Pompey is clinical enough from the tee to be our goal kicker. Conversions are extremely important. You can't see anyone taking them if SJ can't do it. So I guess what is the problem? What is the solution here?
Well, Sean's just can't get hurt. But statistically wise, Pompey was actually pretty good. I think he was at like 70, high 70s to low 80% wise for the season. It was just he decided to do all his misses in the game that mattered.
Pressure.
And under the pressure, yeah. And I think if the Warriors got another try, we would have seen Sean pulling up to do the conversion. I think the missing the first three might have been enough to say Pompey sit this one out. But yeah, I'm trying to think of who else we've got that would be in the starting 13. It's just
I can't
really
think
Sean.
of anybody. Yeah.
Because Roger will be moving into the team, but he's not a goal kicker.
Has Tamati Martin ever goal kicked? I'm
Not
trying
really.
to think. I don't think
Luke
so.
Metcalf has. Luke Metcalf has, so he's an option. Yeah, it's just Sean go out there, win us a premiership next year, and don't get hurt. That's our answer.
Okay, well,
maybe
time
Adam.
for props to shine.
Adam's a prop.
In the off season.
Adam's
Props get practicing your cooking, your kicking, and your cooking too.
But
yeah. So maybe that is it. Maybe that's the off season thing. Is that everyone surely TMM.
Yeah, I don't know if he did because
I think he has goal kicked before.
He has.
Probably not.
I don't know if he's that prolific because he had the guys at
Thurston. Yeah.
Morgan was goal kicking there too, wasn't he?
Yeah. I
And
think
then
he
Panthers,
played for Panthers. He would have had some decent kickers ahead of him as well.
I'm just I'm faffing as I look to see.
I'm googling it too.
Yeah, so he had 9 points. He's never had a conversion.
There you go.
In his
I must
career.
have imagined it.
So all his points he's got in his career have been through tries. No conversions, no goals. So yeah, he's never done it in first grade.
So following on the TMM theme, do you go with him or Metcalf at 6 next year?
I was a TMM at 6 guy, but I haven't been enamored with his return. Admittedly, from injury, I feel like there's more upside to Metcalf at the moment. My argument was TMM is better at setting up the left side attack with his ball playing, but I picked him as my player to improve in that game because I saw him once.
He's been very quiet since returning, hasn't he?
Yeah, so I think at the moment, and the one thing that's really hard for every team, and we saw it on full display, one thing that's really hard to defend is pace. And we don't really have that except for Metcalf. And I think Rogers is going to probably end up on that left side maybe. So I think having him there might counteract Metcalf's negatives in the ball playing side of things. So yeah, I'm probably going with Metcalf right now.
You'd love to combine them, eh? Tamati's ball playing, Metcalf's speed, support play.
We'll work on the science of that in the
Frankenstein. Yeah. Frankenstein player.
What about you, Richie?
Now we talk.
Richie hadn't answered yet.
Yeah, no, I'd probably start with Tamati if he has a good preseason, but yeah, if he's not getting involved a lot, then I'm not against throwing Metcalf in there. At least Metcalf was getting involved when in his stint of playing, picking up tries, support play, having a lot of runs at the line. So for all his downsides, at least he was having a crack.
Yep.
We talked a lot about, I think it was the Sharks this year, not beating any of the top 8 teams. And Bjorn says, we've lost most of our games versus other top teams this year. Do we have enough to beat them? He says, I hope we do. Is pace one of the issues?
I think we can. I know the big thing is the Warriors didn't beat any other team in the top 4. So they didn't beat Penrith, the Storm, and the Broncos. We only got to play Penrith and the Storm once in the regular season, and that was in that 3 games in 9 days window. And they were actually very tight games. So they weren't pants. It wasn't like the years before where last year we lost 70-10 to the Storm. So
no,
the margin is smaller.
12 points to the Panthers. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they do. I think it's all they've just got to build on this year. If they build on this year and don't go backwards like the Cowboys did, I think they're in with a chance. But yeah, it's not an easy day to go and beat the Panthers or the Broncos right now. But yeah, I think they're closer than they would have been last year.
Might just take a breakthrough game beating one of those teams to give us the confidence.
Yeah.
Wow. Big statement here. If Penrith win, are they the greatest team we've seen in the NRL era?
Yeah, I think surely in the NRL era.
To be honest, I think you can argue they already are. This is their 4th grand final in a row. But yeah, if they win it, 100% they are in the NRL era.
Yeah.
Because they have been losing players too, and every year, like at the start of every season, we go, this is the year they fall off because they've lost these guys. And it hasn't happened. They just keep that consistency. So yeah, they keep churning out new players, Taruva has been out of nowhere this year. And, every year there's a new guy that comes in and fills a spot and is amazing. And we'll see it again when Crichton's gone. They've already got Targo and what's his face? The one that got injured this year.
May.
Yeah. They've got they're already home and hose that. So yeah, I think they have to be. Everybody.
Just having a quick look at some of the look at the rundown. You got obviously the Roosters went back to back in 18 and 19. The Storm between 16 and 19 were minor premiership winners 3 times, but only got 1. And we're in the final 3 times, but they only won once.
They were also cheating this time too, though. So they already automatically get across because of the salary cap stuff.
So and then the Roosters again 18-19 back-to-back winners. Those are the kind of runs I can see. Just having a quick glance at the withheld bit was 2006. Oh, hey, I don't know. There's a bunch of withheld ones between 2006 and 2009.
Yeah, Storm's cheating.
So their cheating was 2006, 2009, not their not the period I was talking about. Where they had three minor premierships in 4 years.
Mate, they were always cheating. They just got caught in those times. And Simon said there, the 96 East St. George team, 11 in a row. Yeah, we don't talk about those days. And we're not talking about that team either. Isaac, Bjorn asked me a gambling question. So that's all. What was my best personal multi?
What's your best personal multi this year?
I can actually tell you.
He's going
to... I'm going back in the book.
Because there's anyone got one round you've got, right?
Round 24, Bjorn. I picked
there you
all
go.
8
That's
teams
the only,
to win.
Yeah, that's the only multi, Bjorn. It's not just the best multi, it's the only multi that won.
I got a lot of multis, but there were ones where I lost the first round and then I got the next 7. Like the first game of the week. But this one I had Panthers, Sharks, Broncos, Rabbits, Warriors, Roosters, Storm, Knights. All to win. 8 for 8. And I won them all. So yeah, that was my best. Gamble responsibly.
Gamble responsibly.
I've picked my 1-game multi this week. St. George exists anymore. Time for
Time for the Illawarra Steelers.
Bring back Steelers. Get rid of the Dragons. Be fine. Your question for me, mate, Richie. Unless we had any more. No more. No.
We'll run with one.
Left. Yep.
We're going back to the Panthers.
It's the same. It's a similar question.
It's the same question. Yeah. If the Panthers win this weekend, they would surely be regarded as the best team of the NRL era. So somebody saw my question coming, obviously. Next year, they lose a key man in Stephen Crichton. Do you think he is a big enough loss to finally see a downward trend in form? Or are they doing the unthinkable and fighting for a 5th straight grand final and possible 4th straight title?
He's a big loss, but I don't think it's going to derail them. As we just said, they lose someone, they fill a place. I feel the only time we could really have that talk is if it was Cleary. Cleary finally did the right thing and went back to the Warriors. That would be the time when I go, okay. But I think guys like Luai, Crichton, even a guy like To'o, maybe I think the only untouchables there really would be Yao and Cleary. If one of those two left, I'd be a bit more iffy. But yeah, they've got Targo's doing well. May will come back into the side. I think they'll be perfectly fine without Crichton. I think Crichton will miss them more than they'll miss him.
What if Luai signs elsewhere?
Nah.
They plug those holes so well, eh?
Yeah. Luai, everyone said, he's such an integral part of that team. They keep saying it, but they were playing fine without him when he got hurt in those early finals games.
They were still winning.
And Cogger's leaving, right? But they got Schneider coming in. Schneider will be like the next big thing. You watch if Luai is gone. They'll slot him into 6 and they'll be right as rain. But yeah, he's a huge loss, and the Bulldogs are very lucky to get him. But yeah, they'll fill that gap. And yeah, they're a massive shot. If they win this year, they're a massive shot to go 4 grand finals. So 4 wins in a row and 5 grand finals in a row. They're always a fighter's chance of going there again, just due to the quality and how consistent they are. So it's Warriors year though in 2024, so they won't get that. The
4th title.
My question for you kind of goes into this. The Warriors are 1 game away from grand final, mate. What changes does Angel Webster need to make, either with the roster or game plan in the off season, to take his side to the next level? So to get the Warriors to the grand final next year, what does Webby need to do? And don't just say win more games. That's cheating.
I think we won nearly enough games, that's for sure. I'm no Andrew Webster, so game plan I won't touch on that too much. Roster wise, we're already getting Roger. That's a big in. Chanel, if Chanel gets touched by that Andrew Webster magic, I think could really he could become an important part of our team. I think he was a player that's always had a lot of potential, but just was lacking great coaching because the era he was playing had rubbish coaching. So I have high hopes for Chanel as well. Would love another front rower speaking your language, Brad, like we were talking about Saifidi earlier. Someone like that would be awesome, and I think that would help out a lot. Game plan wise, I think we got it pretty spot on this year in terms of we played higher percentage footy. Sean obviously pulling all the strings, but we applied a lot of pressure to teams and grinded a lot of teams that whenever we came up against teams that were below us, we would grind them out of the game and pick up the win. In the past, I felt like we were always in danger of losing to teams we should beat. I never really felt that danger this year because of the game plan was pretty spot on. I'd like to maybe see a bit more productiveness out of the left somehow. We were very right side dominant this year, understandably, because that side was humming. But if we had a few more weapons around the field, might open things up a bit for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I am a Webster, so I've got a bit more for this, mate. So they need a big
Bit more.
bopper.
Yes, 100%.
They need another big bopper. And then game plan wise, I liked their attacking style, how they did everything. The only thing I would change with Webster is his interchange.
Sure.
I have no issues with who he had on the bench. It's just the way he used it. There was times where, like that Broncos game, I felt like his injection of Dylan Walker was about 10 minutes too late.
And Curran too. Sometimes Curran would get left out on the bench too long.
Yeah, I feel like there was just some times where you could feel the game was on a knife edge, and then a bit of an injection at the right time would have made things easier. That's stuff you learn. So I feel like the rotations will be better. And I know the one thing that used to piss me off a lot this year was at halftime they talked to Justin Morgan, and there were moments in there where he would like proudly say, "We haven't used a single interchange yet." At halftime, it's like that's nothing to be proud of. You got to they're there to be used for a reason. You got to, use them at the right times. It's all key. And I think that's the biggest thing I would change. And it all depends where Rodgers going to go. If Rodgers stays on the right, that's going to be an extremely dangerous right edge. That is already dangerous. But if he is on the left, I think that's where you're going to see it open up. Or he might get the Manu license and get told to kind of just go where he wants. We don't know. But interchange and big bopper is what I think will take them to the next level. And picking the right times, the blood of fuel, the New South Wales Cup boys. Pick and choose the moments to give them a taste of first grade to kind of get them ready to come in, because 2025, there's probably a few big names that are in there that won't be there anymore.
For sure.
SJ is pretty likely to hang his boots up. Tohu's a big possibility as well. Those are big names that you got to fill in. So that's what I would do.
I'm surprised. I was waiting for you to say more offloads.
No, that's the cliche. I think the Warriors showed that they can be successful without resorting to the razzle-dazzle offloads. So it's always great to see that, but you've got to pick and choose your battles. 9 times out of 10, the Warriors this year, when they want to do offloads, they always did them at the wrong times. So if they're going to make poor choices with offloading, I'd rather them not do it at all.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I just know you're loving a good offload, Brad.
Well, I am the best at it. So, Webster, if you're watching, if you need someone to come down and teach the boys how to do it properly, I'm happy to give you some of my time. But we'll move on to grand final now. All the questions out of the way. I decided we'd do our usual Warriors team naming for the grand final, since it's the only game. So I made a pretty picture. They still get the Warriors colors in the background, so they have to put up with that. But I'll let you do Panthers, since you always take the left side. So give us the Panthers team.
Fullback Dylan Edwards, wingers Sunia Taruva, Brian To'o, centres Isaac Tongo, Stephen Crichton, halves Jerome Luai, Nathan Cleary, front row Moses Leota, James Fisher-Harris, Mitch Kenny, hooker. Edge back rows, Scotty Sorensen, Liam Martin, lock, Isaiah Yeo. Interchange, Jack Cogger, Lindsay Smith, Spencer Leniu, and Luke Garner.
And then the Broncos, we're going Reece Walsh at fullback, Jesse Arthurs and Salom Cobbo on the wings, Katoni Staggs, Herbie Farnworth in the centres. Halves are Ezra Mam and Anna Reynolds. Front row, we've got Thomas Flegler and Payne Haas with Billy Walters at hooker. Then we've got Kurt Capewell, Jordan Rickey, second row, and then Pat Carrigan at lock. And then a bench, we've got Tyson Smoothie, Brendan Piacora, Kobe Hetherington, and Kina Palacia on the bench. Very good teams. I'm going with the Panthers. I undernard. I think the Broncos have what it takes to beat the Panthers. But it's that cliche I think we've been saying all finals. I think the Broncos played their grand final last week, much like the Warriors played their grand final against the Knights. So I'm going with Panthers. I think it'll be tight. but
Yep.
it could also be a blowout. You just don't know. If the Broncos do that offloading, they come out and do 24 offloads, but they have 20 knock-ons on it, the Panthers could blow them away. It all goes down to it. It's also a rare game for the Broncos playing in New South Wales, so they have that against them this year. But I'm going Panthers.
It's great insights, Brad. Could be tight, but it could be a blowout.
Yeah, it could be one or the other, mate.
It's a battle of styles, isn't it? Like, what do you like? The defensive high percentage grinder or the attractive fire all the shots, attacking flair? It's hard to look past the Panthers. I could see a world where the Broncos throw everything they've got, throw a million offloads like they did against us, and they all stick.
I reckon you should pick the Broncos, man.
That's going to be their best shot. But
I feel like you need to pick Broncos here.
I'm picking what you're picking. I'm going to lock up that finals win. You can pick Broncos if you like.
No, I picked the Panthers already. I've already locked it in.
Yeah, fair enough. But I'm sticking with Panthers. I think big game team.
Just a reminder, opening game of the season, Panthers lost to the Broncos 12-13 at home, but got revenge 4-15 when the Broncos were at home. Panthers by 10 though is Simon's picking this one. They're $1.63 as opposed to $2.23 for the Broncos.
So
with the TAB.
We've got a one game multi.
Everyone's got one game
multi, Paul.
That's not a multi.
You watch it. We're not going to get it.
It's one game agreement, right? Okay, it's locked in.
Let's do a same game multi then. Who's your first try scorer, Brad?
No, I don't do that.
We're not doing multi. It's too late now. I've already made the. Already
done it.
It's too late to do the.
Yeah. So we've all picked the Panthers, which, judging by our history, when we all go for someone, we get it wrong. So congrats, Broncos, on your grand final win ahead of time. But I'm just, you just reminded me, I'm just actually submitting my tips. This is very professional. It's the right time to do it. And then obviously the girls are also playing.
Show to wrap up, and you're pissing around.
Wait, no, we've got Super League. I'm talking the women's game now. So we've got Knights, Titans. Richie, who are you picking?
I'll go Titans.
All right. I think the Knights will get it.
Titans is a heart pick, isn't it?
It is. I don't know. I like the Kiwi girls in the Titans team, but they ruined Millie's chances of going back to back grand finals with two different teams. Would have been nice to see. Back to back because I think she won it the year before with the Broncos, didn't she?
Yeah,
I think. Don't quote me, but that's the NRL wrap up. So we'll review the grand final next week and the Dally M's, but we'll go into Super League before we head off. So Wigan have ended this regular season first, winning the league leaders shield. Catalan secured second place with St. Helens at third, Hull KR fourth, Lee fifth, and Warrington sixth to take the remaining final spots. So we'll discuss how the finals work in a bit, but I'll just go through the final round. So St. Helens defeated Hull FC 30-12. Sorry, Catalans defeated Salford 19-8. Warrington defeated Huddersfield 20-8. Wigan defeated Lee 10-6. Leeds defeated Castleford 46-0, and Hull KR ended Wakefield's horrible season 56-12. And then so we go into finals in the Super League as well. This week coming up, they've got the eliminator round, which is Hull KR versus Lee and St. Helens versus Warrington. The winners of those games go into the semi-finals the week after against Catalans and Wigan, and then obviously the winners of those games go to the grand final, which is the 14th of October.
Do you know who plays?
Who plays who?
Who plays who? Who plays Wigan if they win?
I don't.
Helens versus Warrington or Hull versus Lee? You don't.
I don't. Sorry, I was trying. Paul's bringing it up for us here, so you need to zoom in, man. I can't see that. So the winner of Hull KR and Lee look like they go against Catalans, and the winner of St Helens Warrington go against Wigan.
Ooh.
And Simon's kind of said that top 6 playoff, top teams go straight to semi-final, and the other 4 playoff in the semi-final spots. So it should be, if we're picking, I'm going to say Lee and St Helens. So I think it'll be Catalans versus Lee and Wigan versus St Helens.
Yeah, I'd go that way too. Which sets up a couple of massive semi-finals. Wigan versus St Helens. That'll be.
I feel it's cheating, but I feel like it's going to be Catalans Wigan. But then, as confident as I was in the what's the other one during the year?
Challenge Cup.
The Challenge Cup. How confident I was, and I got them all wrong.
Yeah.
So it should be a cracker. But anything else you guys want to add before we sign off?
Not really. Let's just hope for a Sean Johnson Dally M. Cross all your fingers, I suppose. Let's hope for a good Warriors representation at the Dally M's tonight. And may the best team win on the weekend. I don't really care who it is now. Winner else dead to me now. I'm looking forward to the internationals.
Yes. It's the Sore Losers podcast.
We've even watched it. Sounds of it. And Brad said before in the pre-show, Brad says I'm not going to bother watching the final either. So look forward to a great show next week, guys.
Yeah, I will. I'm watching it because of the show.
I'll watch it for sure.
Or the highlights at least. I don't know. It depends how I feel on Sunday, mate. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in tonight and joining us on the standoff with Brad and Richie here on New Zealand Sport Radio. For your update on Rugby League next week, remember to tune in our show at 8 p.m. here on Facebook or YouTube, or at your convenience on iHeartRadio, Spotify, all those places. Just remember to search for New Zealand Sport Radio. Cheers for joining me again, Richie, and thank you for all your help in the background, Paul, and good night, everyone.